Have you ever been attracted to a woman who seemed perfect in every way? Or saw a mysterious woman in your dreams? That wasn't just a crush or a fantasy. That was your anima, the hidden female force inside every man, shaping your desires, your dreams, and your destiny. That is, according to psychologist Carl Jung. The anima begs us to become more than we are. Like Daisy Buchanan in The Great Gatsby, she calls us to embrace our emotions. She is key to wisdom, compassion, and understanding. If we ignore her pleas to us, we are doomed to failure. If we embrace her, we will become an unstoppable force. Follow her blindly, though, and you're doomed to fantasy. But what is the anima? This video will show how the anima appears in fantasy, dreams, and even in our personal relationships. It'll show what we can learn by recognizing her existence. By the end of this video, you'll be seeing the anima in places that you never expected. I'm Brandon, and this is Signals and Symbols. Part 1. What is the anima? The anima can be thought of as the unconscious feminine aspects within man. Carl Jung said that the anima was an eternal representation of what is known as the eros, or the drive for love, compassion, and for unity. The anima's presence tantalizes man and drives him to action. We see this process clearly in the movie Risky Business, where Tom Cruise, a rather undeveloped and helpless teenager, meets a very attractive prostitute. This woman of his fantasy spurs him to action and teaches him how to take chances in life. Carl Jung said that the anima would create emotional reactions in men. When she was present, whether in his fantasies or in a projection onto a woman of his desire, like in Risky Business or The Great Gatsby. Jung writes, quote, "The anima is a factor of the utmost importance in the psychology of a man. Wherever emotions and affects are at work, she intensifies, exaggerates, falsifies, and mythologizes all emotional relations with his work and with other people of both sexes. The resultant fantasies and entanglements are all her doing." End quote. By recognizing the anima, you'll find many aspects of yourself that you need to work on, which usually correlate with the feminine side of yourself. These things often include things like grace, compassion, and the ability to emotionally relate to others. Carl Jung said that the man embodies the logos, that is, reason, logic, and the use of language to describe things. This has a complementary aspect within women, that is the eros, and that is represented by the anima within man. But before interacting with the anima, you often have to interact with the persona and the shadow first. The persona is what we usually think of as a persona in everyday life. That is simply the mask that you wear in public that covers up all of your darker traits that you repress. Those darker traits make up what is known as the Jungian shadow. This figure contains all of the repressed and unintegrated aspects of your personality. Tyler Durden in the movie Fight Club is a great illustration of the Jungian shadow. Jack in Fight Club, or the narrator, represents the persona. Addressing both the persona and the shadow are key steps in what Carl Jung called the process of individuation. This is the lifelong journey between man and his unconscious. The interaction with the shadow is just the beginning. For Carl Jung, addressing the anima was the true challenge. Now, let's talk about where the anima appears most often in men's lives. Part 2. The anima in men's lives. The anima's presence in a man's life is often magical and intense, but it often goes unnoticed. This is because, as Carl Jung said, everything that is unconscious is projected, and the anima very frequently finds itself projected onto women of men's desires. Your mind simply reads the anima onto a woman without your knowledge. This happens in Risky Business with Lana, but it also happens in The Great Gatsby. The idea of Daisy Buchanan drives Gatsby forward and pushes him to great heights of success. But with Daisy, Gatsby's idea of her is not even close to the reality of the situation. This makes her representation align much more closely with the idea of anima projection. This idea of Daisy being more perfect than she really is should be familiar to many of you. Personally, when I first learned about this concept, I was pretty shocked because I realized that I had definitely projected my anima onto women that I had known. There's one woman in particular I can think of that I thought that was perfect from the beginning, which obviously is always absurd, because as I got to know her, I found that actually she wasn't as perfect as I thought she was. But I found this out much later, just like Gatsby found out that Daisy Buchanan was actually not perfect, and that actually he was really just projecting onto her. As a man recognizes his anima projection more and more, and also as the man interacts with a woman more and more, gradually the anima projection will fall away. Sometimes, however, the man simply doesn't recognize the projection, and if that's the case, according to Jung, a man is doomed for many successive bad relationships. If man does not integrate his anima, it will continue to appear in his life as a projection. To see how the anima projection reveals your flaws, let's return to Risky Business, where Tom Cruise's character is gripped by his anima in a vivid dream that reveals his unconscious desires and fears. Part 3. The Pull of the Anima. Carl Jung said that the anima often perform the role of a psychopomp, that is, an individual that mediates between conscious and unconscious. So what the anima does is that it shows the man the unconscious aspects of himself that he needs to integrate into his consciousness. This exact process is shown perfectly by the first scene in Risky Business. Tom Cruise plays a clearly undeveloped teenager who is afraid of women. The scene is a dream of a woman that involves partial nudity, and I can't show much here, though I can describe it. In the dream, Tom Cruise goes into his neighbor's house. A woman who he doesn't know is in the shower. She asks him to join the shower, which he reluctantly agrees to. As he approaches her in the fog becomes thicker and thicker. This fog is showing him that he associates desire with shame, which we see later in the movie. Eventually, he appears in a classroom, and it turns out he's late for his SATs. Now, he'll never get into college. Viewed through the lens of Jung, this is a richly symbolic dream, and it's calling Tom Cruise to interact with the anima, but something is blocking him. As we see later in the movie, it's exactly his refusal to learn how to take chances that he's missing. It's his refusal to interact with his more desirous and sensual side. In other words, it's his inability to interact with his eros. But also, his friend tells him that he needs to learn how to take chances. This is key throughout the entire movie. Here we see Tom Cruise's anima calling him to interact with aspects of another Jungian archetype, the shadow. Your anima often calls on you to integrate your unconscious aspects into your consciousness. And in some cases, you even see where the anima calls on you to integrate not only aspects of the feminine side, but also aspects of the dark side into your conscious. Ultimately, the anima is the feminine side of man. She is the eros. She calls man to adventure. She shows up in our dreams and in projections onto real women. She tries to show us where we need to improve so that we can become integrated. If you see a mysterious woman in your dreams, it's your anima. She's trying to tell you something. It's up to you to find out what it is.